There's something nobody tells you about being broke. It rarely happens overnight. Most people imagine poverty as this sudden event. You lose your job, a crisis hits, or a bad decision wipes you out. But the truth? For most people, staying broke is a slow leak, death by 1,000 tiny habits. It's not one big choice that ruins your finances. It's hundreds of small ones, repeated quietly for years. The $6 coffee you swear you deserve. The phone upgrade you need, because your old one's a little slow. The weekend that always ends up costing twice what you planned. Each one feels harmless. Each one feels justified. But over time, these small decisions shape something far more powerful than your bank account. They shape your mindset. Because the real cost of bad habits isn't measured in money. It's measured in identity. Every time you tell yourself it's just a few dollars, you're reinforcing a story that you'll always be someone who never quite gets ahead. And once that belief becomes part of who you are, it runs your entire life on autopilot. You wake up, check your phone, and the first thing you see is someone living better than you. A car, a vacation, a new apartment. You scroll and compare, not out of jealousy but out of habit. Somewhere deep down you start thinking, I should have more by now. That's where the first dangerous habit begins, the need to look rich before you are rich. It's not your fault. You've been programmed that way since you were a kid. Every ad, every influencer, every movie tells you the same story. Success looks like expensive things. And if you don't have them yet, you're behind. So you spend, not because you're irresponsible, but because it feels like survival. You're not buying the product, you're buying the feeling of catching up. But here's the problem. The finish line keeps moving. There will always be someone richer, shinier, flashier, and the more you chase their image, the further you drift from your own stability. The truth is, you don't go broke buying big things. You go broke trying to look like you already have them. Now, you might tell yourself, yeah, but it's not like I'm wasting money, I work hard, I deserve nice things. And you do. But here's the catch. Every time you reward yourself for surviving another week of work with spending, you're training your brain to believe that comfort is the goal, not progress. That's why millions of people earn more every year but still feel broke. They don't have a spending problem. They have a comfort problem. Every raise becomes a reason to relax instead of rebuild. Every bonus becomes an excuse to upgrade instead of invest. And slowly you start confusing financial growth with lifestyle growth. Your income rises but your habits don't. You just scale your expenses with your paycheck, so the stress never leaves. It just wears nicer clothes. But the second invisible habit keeping people broke is even more dangerous. It's not spending, it's waiting. Tomorrow you'll start saving. Tomorrow you'll start budgeting. Tomorrow you'll finally learn how investing works. You tell yourself, I just need to make a little more first. But here's the trap. Your brain rewards you for saying tomorrow. It gives you a small burst of satisfaction, as if you've already done the work. That's what psychologists call delay bias. It's why you can plan your entire financial future in your head and still end up in the same place 5 years later. You're not lazy. You're stuck in a loop of intentions without action. And here's the hard truth. Money doesn't care about intentions. It rewards movement. Even the smallest consistent action beats the biggest delayed plan every single time. That's why people who start saving $50 a month at $20 end up wealthier than those who wait until 30 to save $300. It's not about amount, it's about momentum. Waiting feels safe, but time never waits back. Then comes the third habit, emotional spending. You've had a long week, you're stressed, you're drained, and that add to cart button looks like therapy. So you buy, not because you need it, but because you crave a sense of control. And for a moment, it works. You feel better, until you check your bank balance and the guilt hits. Now you feel worse. And what do people do when they feel worse? They spend again to feel better. That's how the emotional spending loop begins. A cycle of relief followed by regret that never ends. It's not just financial, it's chemical. Every purchase releases dopamine, the feel-good hormone. And over time, your brain starts craving that hit more than stability. So spending becomes comfort. And saving feels like deprivation. But saving isn't punishment, it's protection. You're not restricting yourself. You're rescuing your future self from panic. Let's get real about another hidden habit. Avoidance. You don't check your balance because you don't want to stress. You don't look at your debt because it's too depressing. You ignore your budget because it's too late to fix it anyway. But ignoring your finances doesn't protect you from reality. It just delays the pain. Avoidance is expensive. Because every time you look away, you lose awareness. And awareness is everything in money. You can't control what you refuse to measure. When you start checking your balance daily, you start controlling your choices. When you track your spending, you start noticing patterns that shock you. The $5 coffees, the streaming subscriptions, The $30 food deliveries that felt harmless. It's not about guilt, it's about awareness. Once you see where your money actually goes, you start realizing how much freedom you've been trading for convenience. Convenience. Now let's talk about comfort, the most seductive habit of all. Comfort feels safe. It whispers, you're doing fine, you'll figure it out later. But comfort doesn't care about your future, only your present. It's what keeps people in jobs they hate, relationships that drain them, and habits that slowly rot their potential. You get used to just surviving, not growing. And the longer you stay comfortable, the harder it becomes to move. Because comfort is like quicksand. You don't realize you're sinking until you're too tired to pull yourself out. That's why most people never escape the paycheck to paycheck cycle. They're not lazy. They're numb. They've confused not struggling with doing well. And by the time they notice the difference, they've lost years they can't buy back. But there's one more habit. And this one's the quietest but most dangerous of all. It's believing you can't change. That money just works differently for other people. That investing is for the rich. That you weren't taught this stuff. And maybe that's true. Maybe you weren't. But here's the reality. No one was. The system benefits from your confusion. It wants you tired, distracted, and reactive. Because people who understand money don't spend blindly. They think, they plan, they build. So of course nobody taught you. You were never supposed to learn. But that's exactly why this moment matters. Because if you're watching this, it means you're already doing the one thing most people never do. You're paying attention. And attention is the first step toward wealth. Let's talk about that, replacing the old habits with new ones. Instead of I'll save what's left, you say, I'll save first, spend later. Instead of scrolling through online stores, you scroll through your investment dashboard. Instead of buying something for validation, you buy something for value. And slowly, your brain rewires itself. You stop craving pleasure. You start craving progress. At first it feels boring. You'll see no difference. But one day you'll wake up, check your account, and realize your money's been growing quietly while you slept. That's when you'll understand something most people never do. Wealth doesn't show up with a bang. It sneaks up on you through discipline. Here's what's wild about money. Once you start treating it like a game you can learn, instead of a monster you should fear, everything changes. You realize that saving isn't about deprivation. It's about building peace. That investing isn't about greed. It's about giving your money a job. And that budgeting isn't about control. It's about clarity. Suddenly you stop seeing rich people as lucky. You start seeing them as strategic. Because wealth isn't random. It's a skill built from habits, just like the ones you can build now. Here's what most people get wrong. They think wealth is built through big wins. It's not. It's built through tiny, almost invisible habits. Every dollar saved instead of spent. Every choice delayed instead of rushed. Every no to impulse and yes to purpose. It's those small decisions repeated over years that build something unstoppable. The same way bad habits quietly destroy your finances. Good ones quietly build your freedom. You won't notice it right away. But one day, you'll look back and realize every moment you resisted the urge to spend wasn't sacrifice, it was investment. You were building peace, not just wealth. So now ask yourself, how many of your daily habits are keeping you broke? Not just financially, but mentally. How often do you buy to escape instead of to grow? How often do you delay action because it feels safer? How often do you avoid your finances because you're afraid to see the truth? And if that feels uncomfortable, good. Discomfort is where change begins. You don't have to fix everything today. You just have to stop lying to yourself that small habits don't matter. Because they do. They always have. So think about your day. The coffee, the scrolling, the I'll start tomorrow promises. They all add up. But so do the good ones. Checking your balance, saving before you spend, learning one small thing about money each week. Those add up too. You don't need to be rich to stop being poor. You just need to choose awareness over autopilot. If this made you see your habits differently, hit like, it helps more people find this message. And in the comments, tell me one small habit you're changing, starting today. I read everyone because someone else might need your story to finally start theirs. If you're serious about changing your financial future, subscribe and join the community. Because we're not just chasing money here, we're mastering it, one habit at a time.